All right. So, denying your emotions is denying your humanities. I think most of us are guilty of this, especially if you follow Stoicism. Stoicism basically states that if you, well, face struggles, hardship, challenges, or loss, basically things that are out of your control, you should not, indulge in your emotions, especially sadness, depression, anxiety. You should not indulge in it. However, I don't think that means you completely ignore it or you deny your emotion, especially in times of struggle, times of loss, because that is basically inevitable. And that doesn't mean that you just skip your emotions, you just don't care about it. Like, for example, if you lose something very valuable to you, as- well, of course, you will feel, sad. You will grieve because that something is really valuable to you and you no longer possess them. And that is basic human reactions because, that is what makes you human. Basically, what I'm trying to say is your emotions are what makes you human and what makes the human experience so enjoyable. So just let your emotions free, especially in times of loss, in times of grief. Do not undermine, do not neglect, do not deny your emotions. They are there for a reason. They are there because you have gone through tremendous loss, tremendous hardship. They are there because, their existence in itself is like an indication of something and they make sense. So do not try to undermine it, just let it be. And yeah, let your emotions run free. If you lose someone you love, of course you feel sad. Do not refrain yourself from being sad and just like tell yourself to lock in or slap yourself in the face and say that no, don't be like this, don't be sad, and pick something else to do. I mean, that is one way to cope, but I feel like personally, from what I've seen, whenever I do that, I will always be burnt out and I will have unresolved emotions, unresolved trauma. And I think to heal properly, you will have to let your thoughts, let your emotions, let your mind speak, speak through itself, let it express itself. If you're sad, be sad. If you're happy, be happy. If you are grieving, grieve. Because they exist for a reason. And that's what makes human experience so fulfilling. If every day goes by and you don't even feel anything because you're always thinking logically, that must be such a hell on earth. I mean, I get that you should be more rational and you should be more logical so that you don't indulge in your emotions. But emotions are also the thing that makes you human, makes human experience so enjoyable. You experience loss, you experience grief, sadness, so that you can. It's like it will highlight your the lows, will highlight your highs. When you experience tremendous happiness, you'll think about the time when you struggled, and it will makes you appreciate life more. You know, and you don't have to be so hard on yourself for being sad, because being sad, being anxious, being scared is completely normal. That is like that is really human, and you can't force yourself not to feel some way because quite frankly, You cannot control your emotions. And yeah, I really stand by it. You can't control your emotions. If you go through traumatic experiences, you will feel depressed, you will feel scared, you will be fearful. And if you go through happy things, you of course you will be grateful, etc., etc. It goes both ways. And yeah, I don't think you can control your emotions, but I still follow Stoicism. That doesn't mean that I only follow parts of it. I think I really stand by with Stoicism. What I mean is, I think some people, not all people, some people have a misconception about this, and they think that they should control their emotions. But in reality, that is impossible. You will always feel a certain type of your emotions. That is very natural. Just let it be. If you don't feel that way, like if you trample down on your emotions, you just speak to yourself saying that that emotion is not good for me. But that won't be logical. It won't be rational because your emotions will always be an indicator of some sort, you know? So the main thing is you don't have to control your emotions because your emotions are uncontrollable. What you need to do is not letting your emotions control you. Yeah, because maybe you can feel sad, maybe you can be depressed because things happened and they are inevitable, but you don't live by it. You don't always victimizing you. You don't always victimize yourself. You don't build yourself based on your emotions. Like you'll always be the negative guys, always be the depressed guy. You don't have to do that. You can acknowledge your emotions, but you can also don't have to live by it. Like you can feel sad, but you acknowledge your emotions that you're feeling sad, but you don't have to be sad all the time. You can still enjoy everything else, like separating that emotions from other experiences. Like this experience A might cause you depression, but that doesn't mean that experience B, which is a good thing, cannot cause you, cannot give you happiness. You can always separate two experience and two emotions. So what I think you should do, especially if you're having negative thoughts, negative emotions, is to separate that. Still, acknowledge it and understand that it is completely normal to feel that way. It is completely fine. But don't let it control you. Don't sit in depression. Don't sit in sadness for so long. Don't be a guy full of sorrow. And yeah, I think that basically sums it up. Just you don't have to control your emotions, but don't let your emotions control you. You don't have to let it dictate you. Don't I think what you should do is to observe the emotions. You are not your emotions or your thoughts because sometimes all of us will have bad thoughts, bad emotions. That is simply, well, that's simply just the way it is. You can't really control that. Of course, you will sometimes have dark thoughts, dark emotions that probably should not be talked about or should probably not be yourself. I mean, you should not do that if if you know what I mean. I feel like sometimes I will have, you know, dark, twisted thoughts, and that's not like an edgy way to think or an like I'm not trying to be edgy or anything. I just feel like that is inevitable. You will think of bad things, horrible things, feel horrible feelings, emotions, but you can't control that. That will appear in your head one way or another. But you will have to separate you from the thoughts as well as the emotions. You are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions. You are an observer of that thoughts, that emotions. You don't have to act accordingly to your thoughts or your emotions. Like when you get mad, you don't have to be violent. You don't have to start crashing out and start punching every single human being in sight. You don't have to do that. But you can observe that anger and you will notice more things that you didn't notice before. Like how that anger arise. That will maybe be disrespect. And it will tell you a lot about yourself and like what you would tolerate and what your boundaries are. So sit, be calm, and really think that, why you have these emotions, why you have these thoughts. So, yeah, you can't really control them, but they are somewhat of an indicator of, you know, like, let's just say it's an indicator. Let's say in a relationship, you're having, supposedly, you're having fun, you're having the best time of your life, and your partner is, well, let's say they are really perfect for you. But some type of way you feel resentful, you feel sad, you feel anxious, and you feel worryful. You are worried. I don't know if worryful is even a word. So most of the time, you should not neglect it. You shouldn't like neglect it. Even if things seem to be perfect, if you feel those type of emotions, things probably aren't as perfect as you think, and you should not neglect it. It's an indicator of a problem most of the time. So if you feel that emotions, you should spend some time observing your thoughts, your thinking process. Think, why I'm having this type of emotions, why I'm having this type of thoughts. And when you figure it out, you know what the underlying problem is, and fixing it would be much easier. So I think that is the way to go. You should not undermine your emotions because they will be unresolved and you feel like there will be a hole in your chest because in some type of way you don't care enough for yourself to resolve your, let's say, dissatisfaction, or emotions are not validated by yourself and you don't feel appreciated enough by yourself. So you, of course, you'll be sad, you'll be depressed because you can't even love yourself, provide for yourself. So next time when your emotions arise, whatever it is, you can embrace it. If it is, this is the way I do it. If it's positive thoughts, positive emotions, feelings, I will embrace it because I'll try my best to have fun in this life, of course, because I'm trying to love myself and love my life, be grateful for every single thing. But if they are negative emotions, negative thoughts, I think you should observing, spend some time observing them to understand what they are trying to tell me, what they are, what are they trying to indicate, what problems are arising, And after that, I think you know yourself much better. Even with positive emotions, you can still do that. You actually know how to love yourself. Let's say you feel ecstatic. Ex, I don't know how to say the word. You feel the feeling of ecstasy when you, let's say, have a pie. So you understand that, well, I love maybe sweet food, I love desserts. So yeah, don't deny your emotions. That is basically what makes you human. And denying it more often than not will lead to bad results. So, 2 points I'm trying to say. The first one is you can't really control your emotions, just let it be, but don't let your emotions control you. You don't have to embrace it every single time. hmm The second thing I'm trying to say is that your emotions, more often than not, is an indication of something. You don't feel, you don't feel sad or you don't feel happy all of a sudden. It's just not, well, it's just not rational. Unless you have bipolar or some type of mental disorder. But on that, your emotions really indicate something, especially about yourself. So always observe your emotions to know better of yourself. Stay safe. I love you guys. See ya. And yeah,